Persona 1, or Revelations Persona, or Shin Megami Tensei Revelations Persona 1, the first one, was originally released in 1996 in Japan for the PlayStation, and it officially marked the beginning of the Persona series. And Persona 1 just so happens to have the most insane story out of the entire franchise. And to say that Persona 1 has one of the most insane stories in the franchise is really saying something, because Persona 2, literally the next game after this one of the main enemies is Hitler. So that's the bar. That's the standard that we're working with today. Now, like every Persona game, Persona 1 does have its fair share of gods, demons, teenagers asking themselves more intrusive questions than your grandmother at Christmas. The game starts with the protagonist Naoya and his friends at St. Hermelin High School all gathered around a fortune-telling Ouija board-esque board game called the Persona game. It's your stereotypical scene of teens gathered around a Ouija board, messing with it, trying to see if something will happen. And oh baby, does it. And just as Esteban became possessed by the ghost of room 613 in the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody Halloween episode, a ghoulish figure of a little girl erupts from the Ouija board. The ghost cries out for help, and 4 of the students are knocked unconscious, and the protagonist Naoya, who you play as, is drawn into the mysterious realm of Philemon. Now, Philemon, whose vibes are giving off some strange mixture of like Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Michael Muzan Jackson from Demon Slayer mixed with like some other third thing that I'm having trouble with. Philemon says that we all put on different masks in our lives, and Mr. Pegasus Muzan Jackson notices that Naoya has multiple personalities living inside him, but the strength and confidence to still stick true to himself. So he grants him the power of Persona, which will allow him to tap into these personalities and use them to fight demons. Naoya then wakes up in the nurse's office alongside his friends, realizing that they all had the exact same strange dream that he did. Whoa, like that's totally crazy, you guys. We all had the exact same dream. Like, the exact same. Like, he also told you guys you're really confident and special and swag and the chosen ones meant to save the world. No, he did. Oh, okay, cool. No, that's cool. It's cool. It's great. Great, you guys. Then the school nurse comes out with like vicious pixelated balloon bazonkers. The nurse tells them that they should head over to the hospital to get checked out, where one of their fellow classmates, Maki, has been residing for over a year. Now, really quickly, before things get even more cuckoo bananas, crazy, insane, let's go ahead and go over the starting lineup of the characters we have so far. At point guard, a sophomore from St. Hermelin High. He's 5'9" and has all the personas, but doesn't personally know any bitches. It's Naoya Toto. At forward, from St. Hermelin High School. At 5'6.5", standing on daddy's laundromat money, he's 6'2". Maso Hinobo! At center, he's 5'10" and has never felt the touch of a woman. It's Nacho! And finally, at 5'7", she can cut you down with a single lance. The only thing more criminal than her past is her fashion sense. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Mayazune! There are more characters. There are so many more characters, which I will introduce them as we meet them, but just know this is the main crew that we're rocking with so far, and we'll carry them pretty much throughout the entirety of the game. Now, at this point, they go ahead and head over to the hospital to get checked out, and we learn that Maso has actually secretly been visiting Maki this whole time because he has a crush on her. Dude. Gross. Since they're there in the hospital already, they go ahead and go up to check on Maki, who is been bedridden for the past year, but is saying some weird stuff about how it hasn't been so bad recently ever since she was visited by a strange, fatherly-looking man. At this point, Naoya's like, hey, even Maki gets the freaking dream?
Oh man, I can't have shit!
Maki at this point also reveals that her mom works for the local energy corporation SEBEC, which stands for Psyche Electronics and Biological Energy Corporation. Lord, feels like I just had to memorize the name of a Wish product. Suddenly, Maki cries out in pain. And as they rush her to the ICU, goes bazonkers. The ground begins to shake. The door to the ICU now leads to nowhere. And somewhere down the hall, a nurse cries out, somebody get Rick Grimes, because it's looking a whole lot like Don't Dead Open inside. Also, Nanjo's butler is here. Monster Wayne. The zombies attack the kids, and all of a sudden, the blue spirit shoots out of Naoya and destroys a zombie. The blue guy's all like, I am thou, and thou, as it turns out, are kind of sick, dude. He says he's the Buddhist god of protection, same in Congo, and the other students also awaken to their persona powers. Masao has the Nigerian god of war, Ogun. Yuki manifests the Roman goddess of the hearth, Vesta, or her Greek version is Hestia, if that helps you out. Yeah. I read Percy Jackson in middle school, not a big deal. And finally, Nanjo manifests the Buddhist deity of wisdom, Aizen Myoyo. They defeat the zombies, but tragedy strikes. There in the aftermath of the battle, Nanjo's butler lies dying. Alfred's final words to Nanjo are inspirational. Beautiful. Don't let my death be in vain, Master Wayne. It's actually not that dramatic. None of the other kids care that Nanjo's butler is dead. They're more focused on the fact that holy shit, they can summon personas, and that's cool. Now at this point, the students run around the hospital trying to find other survivors, and they realize that the town has been engulfed in a weird haze. They also run into another classmate, Eriko, who is actually with the original group playing the Persona board game, Ouija board game from earlier. Eriko doesn't seem to give a darn heck about all the zombies and demons running around. In fact, she joins the group and uses her fencing skills to dunk on a few demons herself before a persona flies out of her. And it's Nike, the Greek goddess of victory and running shoes that hurt my little feetsies. Eriko confirms with them that the town is crawling with demons and there's no way to escape. Eriko also mentions that Maki's mom, who works for SEBEC, has been injured, and Masao is immediately like, come on gang, we gotta go help her. So they do that. They go to Alea Shrine, where Maki's mother has been hurt, and holy Lavinza, Theodore, Elizabeth, Margaret, Mary, Jesus Christ! It's a butterfly, Scoob. Philemon, who is the butterfly, appears before them, and he informs them that they have arrived at a crossroads of destiny, which is the name of the Avatar episode where Azula beer batters and deep fries Aang. Back at Alea Shrine, Meredith, we've got a GSW on our hands and she's bleeding out. We need to get her into the OR stat. But no, it's just Maki's mom. She's lying there, obviously, bleeding a little bit. And she goes, there's this guy named Kandori who also works for SEBEC, and he had his guys shoot her. She also says that everything weird that's happening in town is all this guy's fault. And she says that he had her create something called the Deva system, which was made to alter reality. The students respond by bringing a passed out and presumably still bleeding Maki's mom back to the school where it's safe. Now the kids are going around the school making sure everything's safe when all of a sudden they see Maki, and she's fine, made a full recovery. She's looking great, better than she's ever been. Now at this point, Maki and the other students are all gathered around this giant hole that's been blown into the side of the school. And Nanjo comes back and he's fucking locked and cocked, like he's got all these weapons with him. Nanjo at this point is more armed than a freaking CSGO lobby, like more armed than a flash sale at a Walmart in Texas. Now at this point, the game splits into two main routes. The first being the SEBEC route, where you go through the hole and you begin investigating the energy company that's behind all this madness. The second route is known as the Snow Queen route, and it occurs within the school and begins when you, the main character, begin investigating the urban legend of the Snow Queen mask. Now for the purpose of this video recapping the entire story and all the events of the first game, we're gonna go as if we were playing the game, and we're gonna stop here and do the Snow Queen route, and then once we finish the Snow Queen route, we're gonna continue with the game's main story. If you don't want to hear about the Snow Queen route, there are chapters down below. Do what you gotta do. Feel free. To initiate the Snow Queen route, the gang talks to an occult-loving student who tells them about the legend of the Snow Queen, a play that is done while wearing the Snow Queen mask, which is said to be cursed. Every student that ever donned the mask in the play died. Nalia learns, however, that there was one person to don the mask and survive, and that was their teacher, Miss Psycho. However, Miss Psycho's best friend, Tomomi, did die. She died, but since Miss Psycho survived, they kind of thought the curse dissipated, that it was no longer a thing. Naya goes ahead and picks up the cursed mask and takes it back to where all his friends are gathered next to that giant hole in the school. Maki and Masao make like all couples in high school horror movies and decide to split up and head to the police station. Then enter Miss Psycho, who is, as we mentioned, the mysterious Snow Queen mask's only survivor. Miss Psycho sees the mask and begins telling the kids of the Snow Queen fairy tale, and then is like, man, this shit used to be so cursed, dude. Brings me back. Mind if I try that bad boy on? Upon donning the mask, Miss Psycho is immediately possessed by the Snow Queen. The Snow Queen knocks Naoya and his friends the fuck out and makes like 2014, lets it all go and turns the school into a wintry wonderland. Now that St. Hermelin High School looks like the 1964 Christmas special Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, team awakened to a powered-up Miss Psycho who's letting it go and doing her Frozone magic all over the place. The mask then tells the kids that it plans to sacrifice the host, Miss Psycho, and bring about something called the Eternal Night, which, like, sounds kind of bad, especially for Miss Psycho. And the mask even lets them know that if they even try and separate the mask and Miss Psycho, the mask will shatter itself and take Miss Psycho with it. Now, the mask lets them know that this sacrificial ritual, where it sacrifices the host and brings about eternal night, isn't something that, can you snap of the fingers and happen. So while the mask prepares this ritual, he says, you know what? I got a fun little game that you guys can play. The mask lets the students know that there are now 3 ice towers in this icy ice castle, and if they defeat the guardians of each, it will free Miss Psycho and the school. But then Philemon appears to the students, and he's like, actually, that was kind of bullshit. What you really need to do is go through those 3 towers and find the 12 shards to reconstruct the demon mirror. And then he hands them, like, the most cursed mirror frame he could find on Etsy, and then is like, once all the shattered shards are assembled and you got the mirror again, reflect Miss Psycho in the mirror and you're all good from there. Now, Yuki in particular is very motivated to save Miss Psycho because Miss Psycho kind of helped save her from a life of crime. So Naya's like, yeah, but we're gonna need some extra firepower here. So they go grab Eriko, who's found a nutty, crazy looking door in the library, and they grab Nanjo, who wants to go with them just because he thinks this is their only option to get out of the school. And they also encounter an outcast student named Toro who claims to have a demon of his own. Come on, Toro, you loser. Dude, we all know what a Bakugan looks like. You're not fooling anybody. They're not actually real. Oh my god, he has a penis monster. And now would probably be a good time to let you know that this girl with the pigtails that's been here kind of the whole time that I forgot to introduce, her name is Ayase. She's a very good friend of Maki's, and she's brutally rejected this Toro guy like at least twice. So now he's attacking her with his penis monster. Now Toro goes in with his penis demon Mara, but Ayase throws up a big ol' reflection because she's got her own persona, Hori, who is the Islamic mythical maiden of paradise. Then the students are teleported to a strange, mysterious room all in blue, where a handsome and big-nosed host awaits them. It's Igor! Woo! Popping the biggest bottles! It's been like 20 minutes in this video, we finally met Igor, holy shit! Igor welcomes us to the Velvet Room for the first time, an absolutely momentous occasion. He's hanging out there with a blindfolded pianist, and Belladonna absolutely ripping it on the vocals. Igor lets the students know that this is a place that only people who have made contracts with personas can enter, and that he looks forward to helping them hone their new persona powers. What a guy. What an absolute Giga Chad. Time to do some investigating, get our Sherlock Holmes on. The drama club reveals that Miss Psycho and her best friend Tomomi actually once fought over the role of the Snow Queen. That's crazy, dude. But what's even crazier is the freaking Thanatos Tower, which is named after the Greek god of death. It is huge, man. I mean, I was not really imagining something of this scale. But then a student who claims to be the guardian of the tower appears and takes all of the group's personas away. Holy cow, man. Give us a freaking break. We just got those. Like, Ayase literally 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago, just got that persona. Dude, whoever this kid is, however much the Snow Queen is paying you, like, please, we can come to an understanding here. There's no need for this. There is no need for this. So they battle through Tartarus, get their personas, but now they're traversing the Thanatos Tower for real. But Yuriko, who's the student from earlier who stole our freaking personas, the paid actor by the Snow Queen, she appears and she's saying like the most creepy, unhinged stuff about like dying and staying forever beautiful in the tower. I don't know if you've seen this tower, Yuriko. Dude, like, it's not a 5-star accommodation. I didn't get a little mint on my pillow, and the banana nut muffins gave my persona the squirts. However, thankfully, none of the students in the group were dumb enough to believe any of Yuriko's crazy stuff about dying and living forever beautiful in the tower. So she's like, fine, guess I have to kill you. Whoops, so sorry. She's not sorry. She reveals her persona, who is Thanatos, the lord of the tower. And then she starts attacking the group. Yuriko and her knockoff Farrah Fawcett hairdo finally realize after the group beat the shit out of her persona that she is a paid actor, in fact, after all, and she was actually kind of happier before all this nonsense. Originally, when Yuriko first played the role of the Snow Queen when she was a student in the drama club, she was afraid, terrified even, of growing old and no longer becoming beautiful. So when the Snow Queen approached her and said, hey, I can make you young and beautiful forever, you just have to die, Yuriko was like, no, that's like a great deal, for sure. Lock it in. Deal or no deal? Deal! Yuriko at this point, though, does end up regretting her decision to make a deal with the Snow Queen, and she just kind of, I mean, she's already dead, so she just kind of fades away into the afterlife. Yuriko will be like, will you still love me when I no longer ball so freaking hard? No, I won't. Now the students come back down off the Thanatos Tower, and they run into some silly little Jack Frosts who are dressed up kind of funny as like little students that are kind of cute. But the Jack Frosts say that they actually came from a side area called the Devil's Peak, where a bunch of monsters are waiting on deck to flood into the school. And now, yeah, and the gang are like, okay, and then they head straight for the next tower, which is the Nemesis Tower. Michiko is the student who's the guardian of the Nemesis Tower, and she has a giant friggin' assault rifle and a motorcycle, and she's busted out of prison about to go save her daughter from a corrupt foster system. Okay, so she's actually just a student who thinks she's better than everyone else, and she wants to torture the group just for fun. The original incel guy from earlier, Toro, is being like constantly force-fed milk from a giant cow, throwing it up into his mouth. It's not nice. Michiko is like Goku Super Saiyan powered up by all of these people being tortured and being miserable, and she reveals her persona Nemesis. After the group defeat her, she is a really sore loser about it and insists that it was a completely unfair battle, 5v1. Just accept that you're not Faker and move on, buddy. Like, this is just not healthy. Michiko then reveals to the group that she used her wealth and influence to con her way into the Snow Queen role, either bribing or threatening expulsion to any student who dared oppose her. Because she tortured everyone around her and then still managed to feel like the victim when no one liked her, she took the Snow Queen's deal when the Snow Queen seemed to sympathize with her. She does admit defeat here to the students, but vows to get her revenge eventually. Yeah, whatever, Rachel Berry. We'll just mop the floor with your butt again. The final tower the group must face is the Hypnos Tower, which makes them all get sleepy time bare as soon as they get close to it. They notice that several students and faculty have already succumbed to the sleepiness and are taking a little snooze off to the side. But hey, wake up, Philemon's here. Philemon's here, y'all. Philemon, what wisdoms do you have this time, my friend? We've been busy collecting mirror shards. We got mirrors on mirror shards, my friend. And Philemon's just like, dude, this tower is trapping everyone into dream worlds. So like, just bear that in mind going in there. Be careful. Watch your step. So the group go through the tower, entering everyone's dreams, like that episode of SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs tries to reel in the Moby Dollar and Patrick just rides the seahorse, except there's more demons and more fighting, but they go through and wake everyone up along their way. That is eventually until they reach the very top of the tower, where you can guess which persona is probably waiting for them. It's Hypnos. Kumi is the guardian of this tower, and her persona Hypnos is aiding her in trapping people in their dreams because she believes that people are happiest when they're dreaming, and that the real world is just cruel, won't live up to the dreams. Kumi holds this belief because when she had the role of the Snow Queen, her parents wanted her to give it up in favor of focusing on her studies. Then students at school who weren't all as academically gifted as her also made fun of her because she didn't want to take the role. Basically your classic Troy Bolton scenario here. Troy wants to sing and follow his heart and smooch Vanessa Hudgens. However, his dad wants him to be Troy Bolton. basketball man, Dipsy Doo Dunkaroo, sensational baby. Feeling the pressure from her classmates and her parents, Kumi feels trapped. In this situation, she's danged if she does and danged if she doesn't. And who else offers her a way out of this nightmare but the Snow Queen herself? The Snow Queen offers her a dream reality that she can escape to, where she doesn't have to face the consequences of these decisions, and Kumi obviously gladly accepts.
Denial, and then they blanket them. They put a blanket on top.
Naoya and the crew criticize her heavily for this because she didn't really approach either side. She just kind of accepted her fate as the victim in this scenario. And then Yuki argues that she might not even be the real Kumi in the first place. Yuki believes that the Kumi they're dealing with now is the dream Kumi trapped in the dream, and the actual Kumi could be somewhere else entirely. Yuki's correct, and they eventually find the real Kumi, and then the real Kumi immediately summons her persona, Hypnos, and then the group immediately also beat the shit out of Hypnos. Kumi's sad she lost, and Nanjo comes in with the crossover. He switches up in the lane and dunks on her, saying she'll never actualize her dreams if she just does nothing and waits around. Little baby, poo-poo baby. Kumi then realizes her own weakness and the group's strength, and she admits defeat and grants them the final shard of the Demon Mirror. The group then hustles on back to point the mirror at Miss Psycho, which separates her and the Snow Queen mask. However, a student with a burned face now stands next to the floating mask. Harvey Dent, or the student with the burned face, seems pretty pissed off that the students themselves just took Miss Psycho's side blindly, and the mask attacks. The students defeat the mask. Surely it ends there. It does not. Miss Psycho gets up. She's all better now. But it turns out that Harvey Dent is actually Tomomi, Miss Psycho's best friend, who died, and she was the spirit possessing the mask. But if they were best friends, why was Tomomi's spirit so vengeful? Well, as it turns out, Tomomi was actually originally supposed to play the Snow Queen, but she was afraid of the curse. You know, the curse that killed Michiko and Troy Bolton and Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, they all died. So Tomomi would like to achieve Snow Queen status, but without the part where they died horribly. However, the plot thickens. The rumor comes out that actually Miss Psycho was offered the role originally, but she bowed out of the part so that her friend Tomomi could play the Snow Queen. The day before the play is supposed to happen, Tomomi confronts Miss Psycho. Tomomi tries to take off the Snow Queen mask, but it refuses to come off and burns half of her face, resulting in her Harvey Dentishness. She blames Psycho for these events, and Psycho's like, well, I mean, and, you know, I was definitely involved, can't deny that, but it wasn't my total fault. I was really just trying to give my friend a role she wanted to play. Which is sounding, well, it's all sounding suspicious, but what's even more suspicious is that even after defeating the Snow Queen mask and freeing Miss Psycho, the entire school is still looking like the 2004 set of the film A Day After Tomorrow, except Dennis Quaid is not coming to save us from the wolves on his giant snowmobile truck. Suddenly, in the middle of the room appears a creepy, robed woman, and she thanks the students for freeing her from her host and from the mask. And the creepy, robed woman is like, actually, so funny story. I'm actually not the Snow Queen. I am the Night Queen, and now I'm gonna go ahead and engulf everything in a vast, never-ending void of sorrow. And the gang is like, whoa, what if this is Tomomi's persona? Like, what do we do, guys? Well, Nanjo, that'll be the same thing we do to all rogue persona users around these here parts. Except Nyx, the Night Queen, has gone like triple-double rogue from her persona user and instead just a loose cannon demon that must be dealt with. So the gang are about to face off against the Night Queen, and Tomomi appears one last time to transform the Demon Mirror into a sick shield that they can use while they fight the Night Queen. So at this point, because Atlas decided we haven't done enough tower ascending yet, the group then have to ascend the Night Queen's ice castle. Except this time, they're stopped by a masked girl who looks a lot like Maki from earlier. The strange masked Maki says that she actually freaking hates everyone and hates that they're happy, and as a result wants to destroy the whole school. Nanjo says, slow your roll there, girl. Slow your roll there, Maki, if that's even your real name. We all know that the real Maki is out there headed with Masao to the police station. Duh. The students then encounter a little girl who's looking for their father, and another little girl who's looking for the masked Maki. They also notice that the ice castle just looks like their school from like a while back. They then meet another masked student who is a former student council president who asks about the masked Maki and says that the iced out version of the school is a direct result of Maki and her feelings. Finally though, the students do reach the Night Queen and approach her on the old school stage. A masked Maki appears, asking them why they even care enough to protect the school in the first place, and the student council guy also appears, and then they Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fuse with the Night Queen into a mega monster. The main gang do what they've done this entire game and whip the snot out of the Night Queen. The Night Queen, however, still does not know how to give it a rest. Like, come on lady, show's over. She says the eternal night will still occur as long as people's hearts long for despair. Whatever that means. Maki and the student council president guy are like, whoa, we lost? What? And then they vow to the protagonist Nalia that they will meet again. Ominous, but like, okay. The school's icy curse then lifts and we dive on back to the main story from here. Nanjo apparently has not had enough action because he's like, y'all, we cannot waste any time. We have to go find Masao and Maki immediately, especially because that masked girl looked so much like Maki. So it turns out Masao was captured by demons in the police station, but Maki's fine. Maki's back with them and is somehow asking weird questions that she definitely should know the answers to. What's a police station, Maki? You're never gonna beat the allegations that way. Come on, girl. What is this demon posing as a human behavior? Maki's also saying weird stuff like she's never been in the hospital. The math is just not math in here, ladies and gentlemen. Nanjo believes Maki has selective amnesia, but when they're attacked, she whips out Maso, who's the Chinese goddess of protection at sea. So Nalia and Nanjo are kind of like, she doesn't know what a refrigerator is, and she did just try to take a dump in a sink 5 minutes ago, but you know what? Her persona's kind of pog, so why not? The gang arrive at the police station where they find Masao locked up alongside classmate Hidehiko, who, if you remember, was actually there when they were playing the original little Ouija board game. Masao is super concerned about Maki, and Hidehiko is surprised to find that he can also summon a persona. Not sure why he's surprised. Every character in this game so far is rocking a persona, but his persona is Nemhein, or the Irish goddess of war and chaos. Now that the kids know that they can't go to the police on this one, they take it upon themselves to conduct their own investigation into SEBEC, and they begin their search by going to the secret entrance to SEBEC that Maki's mom revealed to them is actually in an abandoned warehouse, which Masao knows because he graffitied there. The gang then run into Eriko while they're on the way to the abandoned warehouse. Once they get there, Masao remarks that he never remembered there being any SEBEC activity around here, but okay, let's head in. So the gang head on into the abandoned factory, and they do actually find an underground passage that leads them directly to SEBEC HQ. So they enter SEBEC and they make their way to Kandori's office, and if you remember, Kandori is the guy who Maki's mom said sent his goons to shoot her. Kandori's talking to his right-hand man, Takeda, and Takeda is actually telling him about how Maki's mom probably survived, but Kandori doesn't really care, and he is instead really just focused 100% on the Deva system. The group then barge in to confront Kandori. Nanjo actually attacks him with his persona, only to find out that his persona has no effect on Kandori, and Kandori leaves his right-hand man, Takeda, to presumably murder the children. But before he does, he reveals himself that he actually has a little powerful persona himself hanging around in his pocket, and he is surprised to see that the kids actually awakened to that power themselves. Unsurprisingly, the group ends up enrolling Takeda and then begins chasing after Kandori, and they find a secret door into his office which leads to an underground laboratory. Upon entry, they spot Kandori talking to a crazy-haired scientist guy named Dr. Nikolai, who's saying he's scared of refining the Deva system any more than they already have, even though he was the one who invented it. Dr. Nikolai also questions Kandori as to why he threw a child into the Deva system. That's violating, probably lots of laws, but Kandori doesn't really care. He's not gonna let stupid laws or ethics get in his way. Oh, no. The group yell at Kandori again. However, he still doesn't care and steps directly into the Deva system itself. Now, at this point, Maki once again chooses to speak up and is like, now, I may not remember what a refrigerator is, or a police station for that matter, but I do recognize that Kandori guy. Then all of a sudden, Kandori starts screaming within the Davis system. He's crying out that he's disappearing or whatever. Dr. Nikolai decides that he's got to make the madness stop and end Kandori's corruption here and now, even if it kills him. So Dr. Nikolai is inside the machine, Kandori's in the machine, and Dr. Nikolai is just cranking it up to 10, trying to kill Kandori in there. However, before Dr. Nikolai can deliver the killing blow in there with his little machine, a mysterious force somehow kind of intervenes and actually saves Kandori, making him rematerialize. Turns out it's a little girl, kind of maybe similar to the little girl we saw in the Snow Queen route, maybe not. Anyway, she says that she can't let Kandori die for whatever mysterious reason that she has. Dr. Nikolai's plan to kill his boss tragically fails, and Kandori gets away as reality begins to shift in front of the kids. The kids are then transported to their school, what looks like 6 months in the past before a couple of different renovations took place. They encounter Yosuke, a student that everyone thought had gone missing a couple months back, but as it turns out, what actually happened is that he and his girlfriend Chisato accidentally wandered into this world a few months back. That's when Nanjo kind of puts together the pieces that this might not be the past, but instead it's a parallel universe. Yosuke kind of confirms this for them when he mentions that most of the world is the same, however a few key locations are drastically different. For example, the hospital appears to be a giant castle. Yosuke and Maki then at this point kind of connect the dots and figure out that the Maki that's with them currently is actually the Maki of this parallel world. At that point, Masao is then like, well, what happened to the original Maki? Just as Masao asks this, the little girl from earlier who saved Kandori appears and is like, "Yoo-hoo, shitheads, I just sealed all the exits. Good luck trying to get out." And just when you thought there were already too many characters with personas to keep up with, now we've got Reiji. Reiji over here is a transfer student who is now using his persona to help defend our friends here, and his persona is Braze, the mythical Irish king. Reiji's character model, like, they've got this guy over here, shirtless, number one, with the Captain America little sparring gloves on. It's just, he's 100% Sasuke Uchiha core. Like, if the beginning riff to Meant to Live by Switchfoot were a person, it would be Reiji. Like, he's got that energy, that Nanjo at this point asks Reiji if he was the persona user that Kandori banished to this other world before they banished them, and Reiji is just like dodging questions about Kandori left and right. Suspicious behavior. Basically, Reiji says he was floating through the void until a child in white, presumably the little girl in white from the Snow Queen route that we saw earlier, sent him to this parallel world where they all are now. Masao at this point is like, hey, you got that sick persona, might as well join us, kind of come along for the ride. So he agrees to tag along with their merry band. The kids encounter the girl in black again, defeat her monster, and alleviate the school temporarily of its demon problem. Yosuke runs out to thank them and introduce them to the student who actually believed his crazy dimension hopping story. And it's none other than the Tsutomu of this world, the occult-loving student that introduced us to the Snow Queen urban legend from the other world. Tsutomu also believes the group's story about jumping worlds, and he introduces them to a strange black door that's appeared recently. Tsutomu said that he was also visited by Philemon and that he knew he would end up helping them by telling them about the door. Maki then gets the idea to head to Alea's shrine to see if Philemon is there to give them any kind of special wisdom, and he's there, just chilling. Philemon at Alea's shrine confirms exactly what the group had been thinking. The world that they're in is Kandori's mirror dimension creation where he hopes to achieve his endgame. Philemon lets them know that by chasing Kandori, they will then be able to uncover the truth of this dimension and find a way out. Kandori's base is actually on the east side of town where he's currently searching for something, and if he finds it, well, it's pretty much curtains for everyone in this world and the other world. The group then head to the subway area and fight this big honking guy so they can gain access to the subway tunnels, and the little girl in black makes another guest appearance to make fun of the group, this time calling herself by name, and her name is And the name Aki in no way reminds us of any other characters that we've met so far. None of them. Now, at this point in the story, what happens next, like, you might need to sit down for. It's very jarring. It's like when you click on a YouTube video and you're fed like one of those scary mobile game ads. You need to look away. You can minimize me now. Feel free to minimize me now and just listen to this listen to this to where this tale takes a turn. So here the kids hear tell of someone called the Harem Queen, and once they see her palace and photos of her around, they realize that she looks a lot like Chisato, who is the missing student and also Yosuke's girlfriend. You might be asking to yourself, how did all this happen? How did this happen to her, and why is Yosuke just chilling totally fine? Well, it seems like Aki, or the little girl in black, actually gave her this crazy mirror, which is able to grant all of her wishes. This is this magic mirror wishing power to then send the main group away, but once they come back and make their way back to the Harem Queen, they notice that her face gets blotchier every single time she uses this forbidden power. At this point, Chisato then goes nuts, goes crazy, and starts turning Naoya's friends to stone. And at this point, Maki and Naoya have no choice but to duel her to the Shadow Realm. They knock some sense into Chisato, and Maki at this point is like, hey, remember when we were best friends and you weren't crazy and mean because of some like weird demon mirror? And then Yosuke appears and he's like, yeah, that's my crazy girl, and I still love her. And then at that point, the black mirror that Aki gave her shatters from overexposure, I guess, to all the love and friendship in the room. And then the curse is lifted for Chisato, and all of her friends get unstoned and returned to normal. Chisato, once she's been returned to normal, is like, no, yeah, you guys, there's definitely some weird shit going down at the castle. Y'all should head over there and check it out. And if you forgot what the point of the story was, or what they were even doing, well, the gang is trying to catch Kandori and restore Demon Town, USA, Japan back to normal. So the logic here is that Kandori might be at the castle, so buckle up, we're going to the castle. Gotcha, you thought we were gonna progress the story? No, what we're actually gonna do is now we have to go to the Lost Forest to find the special key needed to get into the castle. So buckle your seatbelt again, because we're going to the Lost Forest, which is where the police station is in the other world. So at this point, our little persona using Hansels and Gretels make their way through the Lost Forest, tearing down all who oppose them until they arrive at a sweet little gingerbread house. Inside the gingerbread house, they find a girl in white who calls herself May. May tells the group that Aki is the bad version of herself that appeared when Kandori came to see her. May carries with her a compact mirror that grants her wishes, similar to the demon scary mirror that Aki gave Chisato, and she actually used it to create this entire town. However, Aki took half of it. May can't use her half to fuck up Kandori or send them home. So Naoya asks if May will allow them to borrow her mirror to unlock the magic door to the castle, and then May's like, sure, what could possibly go wrong? Door unlocked. Nanjo suspicious. Nanjo, of course, waits until they've already flung the demon door wide open and stolen a little girl's compact mirror before he says, you know, this is probably exactly what Kandori wanted them to do. But they still kind of needed to enter the castle to face Kandori anyway, so what were they supposed to do, you know? At this point, folks, you're really gonna need to fasten your seatbelts because this next twist will have you pooping your pants and howling at the moon. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's gonna be nuts. So they enter the castle, blasting through demons to get to the throne room where Kandori and Aki are waiting. Reiji calls out Kandori, dropping his whole full name, like last name, first name, middle name, address. He just doxed Kandori in the throne room, to which Kandori replies by revealing that Kandori and Reiji are brothers. Kandori also says that Reiji's a bastard, like but actually, because Reiji's the son of Kandori's father and his mistress, but Reiji refused Kandori's family name for all the pain that they inflicted on Reiji's mother. Kandori at this point is like, dude, the stuff with my dad, like, that's got nothing to do with me, and also you guys are idiots. Thanks for bringing me the compact mirror, stupid dummies. And then Aki uses the compact mirror to then summon a bigger, like, black scary mirror, and then they see through this scary mirror, they see their world in the center of the town is smashed and replaced with a giant palace known as the Deva Yuga. At this point, then we learn that actually the compact mirror was like not a compact at all, but was instead the mirror of chaos, which then grants Kandori power over the dimensions without even needing to use the Deva system. Kandori names himself a god and then blue skidoos out of there. Reiji's feeling worse than Sasuke felt after he and Naruto both did their special moves on the water tower, and Sasuke realized that Naruto blew the water tower's back out. So to beat Kandori, they have to go back to the other dimension. Maki chooses now to suddenly remember that there's a haunted mansion in this dimension rumored to transport people to other lands or perhaps other dimensions. When they get there though, a demon stands between them and what appears to be a dimension-hopping device. Masayo almost immediately recognized the voice to be the voice of Maki's mother. Maki, hey, how are you guys doing? Yeah, I've got great news about your mom. Actually, she's made a full recovery. However, there's just one slightly kind of small side effect. Yeah, she turned into a giant orange demon lady, and she did unfortunately try to stab one of our nursing staff, so we're just gonna keep her here overnight, kind of monitor, see how she does. Oh, one second. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm with the family right now. Oh. You just ripped out all of her drips and jumped out the window? Okay. All right. 1 second, guys. We'll be right back. She'll be fine. She's great. Maki's mother, the demon, however, chooses not to fight them and reverts back to her original self. Turns out it was actually Maki's mom from the original dimension, because Maki in this dimension actually doesn't have a mom. Maki's mom, at this point, undemonized, is now wondering why the Maki in this dimension doesn't have a mom, and I mean, so are we, girl. Like, what? The kids pass through the portal just fine and realize that they are now in the Deva system chamber itself, where we all thought that Dr. Nikolai got turned into space dust and blasted into the great beyond. However, as it turns out, just like Larry the Cucumber in the VeggieTales episode about Nebuchadnezzar's chocolate bunny factory, Dr. Nikolai was actually fine and survived the chamber. He is, however, talking very weirdly and acting as if he's possessed, but I'm sure that's fine. Just when we thought the vibes were weird here in the Deva system chamber, in comes Kandori, who's here to gloat about how he's brainwashed all surviving humans into sharing his desire for total annihilation. He also mentions that just with a single command, he can force all surviving humans to attack and kill each other. And then Maki whips out the classic, "Why are you doing this?" And then Kandori's like, "Come to my freaking castle and find out if you can even get there, dummy poo-poo head." Turns out they can in fact get there, and they rush into the Deva Yuga, where Kandori is confidently waiting for them, a little too smug about his new god powers. When they arrive to face him, he asks Aki to step aside and begins doing his classic supervillain monologue, asking them what their reason for living is and insisting that all humans need some kind of reason to keep living. Kandori then cries to the kids about how he's suffering with too much success and tells them that once you obtain everything you've ever wanted in life, there's nothing left but empty solitude, and you wonder whether you weren't just better off not even trying to achieve what you wanted to at all. Kandori originally wanted to end all humanity for whatever reason, but now that he has all the power to do it, it's just not satisfying for him anymore. This is like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk complaining that they've had one too many trips to Bora Bora and the Amalfi Coast, and now they're ready to just kill the Earth so they can fart around in space. Then Kandori goes on to tell the group that he basically let them get there just so he could ask them that question about what drives them to fight for their lives in the first place. Then each student goes around the room explaining why they're alive, and all pretty much agreeing that while they don't exactly know the reason for life, they don't really need one to know how to live without regret and know that life is something worth protecting. At this point, Nanjo glides in from the fucking backcourt and drains a 3 on Kandori right in front of his mom and dad and Dr. Nikolai and God and Philemon and everybody, stating that Kandori knows he achieved all of this just by shitting on other people, and he's too pathetic, basically, to know how to live on after he's achieved this goal. Kandori then stands to fight the group, finally, and reveals his own persona, Nyarlathotep. After the initial battle with Kandori's persona goes a little cuckoo bananas and takes control of his body, morphing them together. This is starting to become a thing. The St. Hermelin High School students then band together once more to banish the idiotic ambitions of a wealthy man whose delusions of grandeur pushed him to achieve a goal he didn't even want to achieve. After the fight, Kandori reveals to Nanjo that, yeah, he was right. And Kandori, like Elon Musk, praying for people on a Twitter poll to vote for him to step down as CEO of Twitter, Kandori actually admits that he was relieved that the students came and beat him in the end. And Nanjo, as usual, wants to know what we all want to know. Where the heck is the real Maki? As it turns out, the Maki hanging out with them had just been an idealized version of the real Maki, just like the Mirror Town was just the version of the town that was inside Maki's heart. Mei, the girl in white, and Aki, the girl in black, were just opposite sides of Maki's personality that were split into two, and the Maki in their group is an imagined version in between those two extremes. Turns out Maki had just dreamed up her ideal version of the town with her crush Yosuke and her best friend Chisato trapped within its confines. And this whole Davis system thing started a couple months ago with the first successful test run of the Davis system. However, Maki had been linked to the project and synchronized with the Davis system way before then. And that's how Maki was able to escape from her hospital bed and create this dream world. Fake Maki is initially in denial of all of this, but Kandori insists that she must face her true self and find the real Maki, which is actually within the Deva Yuga castle. The group go ahead and leave Kandori dead and dying in the throne room and enter a room with the real Maki in a hospital bed hooked up to the Deva system. The fake Maki that had been traveling within this entire time begins to unravel at the sight of her true self hooked up to the great glowing machine, saying how jealous she was of everyone being able to lead a normal life and how much she hated everyone all along for this. Since she was helpless to control any of this, she made up her own imaginary world and realized she didn't belong in the real world in the first place. The fake Maki then leaves the group and heads through the Mirror of Chaos back into the other world. Masao wants to follow Maki, but Nanjo's like, dude, she's too far gone. Let's just destroy the Davis system and free the entire town. Masao realizes that since Maki's hooked up to the Davis system, that destroying it would likely kill her, so he clocks Nanjo right in the face, and then tells them they need to save Maki first so that she can break free of the system with her own strength. Nanjo pretends to be 9,000 IQ Gigabrain after this and was like, actually guys, I definitely just said that so we could boost our group's Reddit karma and everyone would be hyped up to enter Maki's heart. Before they can head in, fake Maki actually smashes the Mirror of Chaos from the other side and Maki's broken compact falls out. They then duct tape a piece of the broken Chaos mirror to the broken compact and Country Boy can't survive their way into interdimensional travel once more. On the other side, Maki's mom is just chilling there and apparently bullet wounds just don't matter to anyone because they catch her up to speed on everything and allow her to tag along. They find Mei, who tells them that Aki went to Pandora, a very, very bad version of Maki, not the planet where the avatars live, Jake Sully. Very bad version of Maki. And anyway, Aki undid her seal. So now Pandora's on the loose. She's out of her box. And Aki still intends on ending the town. Mei tells them that fake Maki in gray is actually lost wandering in the woods. They find her laying down in a bed, turning to reveal, she's got no freaking face! Maki's like, I'm so terrible and ugly and miserable, I should just die. And Nanjo doesn't give a doggone heck about it. He's like, come on, Maki, let's wake up, get out there. You stink so bad. Come on. Maki gets up and her mask is gone, magically. She forgives herself and her mom and she's now ready to face the real Maki. They return to Mei, and at this point, Mei's like, you are really stupid and an idiot if you think I'm gonna let the game end at this point. So we actually need another compact from Maki's consciousness to approach Pandora. So at this point, they go back to Alea Shrine, and Philemon tells them that the Alea Cavern will lead them to the Sea of all mankind's souls, where all souls originate and return to once they die. The true Maki's soul is about to return and needs Naoya and Maki to help her, and so only those two are allowed to enter. Once inside, they find a version of Naoya who's playing a video game, and he recounts every single decision the players made so far. Dude, they're on to us. Fake Naoya then applauds real Naoya for staying true to himself and making all these decisions thus far by giving him a key to unlock their ultimate personas. They then go past the Sea of Souls and find Maki's consciousness floating in a space ball. Maki and Maki then have a heart-to-heart. Soul Maki wishes they were never born. Fake Maki just wants to come to an understanding, and then they eventually compromise, and Soul Maki gives her the final key they need to get to Pandora. Okay, Jake Sully. They head back to the school where it all began to settle things once and for all, except the only folks there are Yosuke and Chisato, and they tell them that parts of town are now disappearing. Maki then steps forward and combines all three pieces of the compact Exodia and opens up to the path to the very depths of Maki's heart, which apparently was just chilling in the library the whole time. Once they enter the chamber, they see Pandora, a really spooky, horrifying nightmare monster version of Maki, protecting the Deva System core. Discussing Nightmare Demon, Maki doesn't want to destroy the Deva System core because she thinks of it as a gateway to paradise. Pandora Maki wants to make their own weird, disgusting world, and the students know that they can't let that happen. They then defeat Pandora's outer shell to reveal a giant reality-altering butterfly monster lady who they once again lay the smackdown on, and Maki finally approaches Pandora. Fake Maki tells them that they are both essential pieces of who the real Maki is, signifying the end of Maki's internal struggle. Fake Maki in her gray uniform turns to the group one last time, telling them goodbye and thanking them for their help along the way. Maki then teleports all of her classmates back to the real world except for Naoya, who she saves a super duper special smooch for. Not really sure who would want to smooch after fighting that disgusting monster thing, but hey, guess Rihanna wasn't the only one to find love in a hopeless place. Maki then teleports a new beau, Naoya, back to the real world, and Philemon is back to congratulate those kooky kids for their hard work. They revealed their true selves and believed in each other the whole way through. And I guess as a special treat, Philemon then decides to remove his own mask and he levitates into the air and then turns into a bunch of glowing, glittering butterflies. In the game's epilogue is kind of like, even though all that weird stuff happened, none of the kids' identities were revealed on the news, so everything just kind of went back to normal. The game ends kind of like the Breakfast Club, and each character gets their own little epilogue moment. Maki's illness is completely and magically cured, and she goes on to pursue art, winning an award and several lucrative commission offers. She prioritizes a relationship with her mom, who survived the bullet wound, and she spends time with her boyfriend, who might be Naoya. I can't tell. Love is love, dude. Who am I to judge? Ayase eventually becomes a stay-at-home mom, Erika becomes a model, Yuki pursues photography, and Masayo moves to New York to become a prominent street artist. Nanjo becomes a salesman and mellows out after witnessing the cruel ways of the real world. Hidehiko becomes a celebrity influencer, and Reiji gets married and has a kid. As for Naoya and Maki, they continue to build their own wacky destinies, and the player gets a little "and you" moment where the game implies that we are to decide the rest of their fate. This insane fever dream of a game ended up selling 600,000 copies worldwide and marked the official beginning of the Persona series. If you're interested in the Persona series story and you want to see the next installment, click here to see a recap of Persona 2 Innocent Sin, or Persona 2 the first one. There's 2 Persona 2s. Please enjoy that if you're interested. If not, thank you so much for going on this journey with me and diving into the Persona series rabbit hole. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.